about introduction to data mining. Okay, so let us start with an agenda. So our agenda is what is the difference between data and information, and second thing is why we need data mining and what is data mining, and next one is knowledge discovery in databases, what is the process of KDB, and finally we have applications of data mining. Okay, so let's start with the difference between data and information. Okay, so we know what is data. So data is nothing but some raw facts or real fact. It can be anything. Data can be anything. It can be raw facts or figures, audio, video, text. It can be anything. So data is nothing but raw facts. Okay, and what about information? When we process the data, we can get the information. So data is nothing but raw facts and information is a processed data. Okay, so let us take a real world example. Okay, so each student test score is the data. Okay, so from the data I can be able to find out the overall pass percentage of the class. So that is the information. So when we process the data, we can get the information. Okay, so that is data and information. So data and information, data is a raw and it is an unorganized one. Okay, so there is no structure in this. It is an unorganized facts, and information is a processed data. Okay. Next, why we need data mining? So we know we are having so much of data. I mean huge amount of data in our day-to-day life. Okay, even we can get the data from our day-to-day transaction and from social media and so many sources. We can get the data from many sources. So this data is of no use unless it is organized into useful information. Okay, so we are getting the data from various sources like business, e-commerce websites, our day-to-day transaction and stock marketing and scientific data like remote sensing data and bioinformatics data and from society data, okay, social news and social platform like Facebook, Twitter, Insta and all. We are getting so much of data in our day-to-day life. Okay, so these data can be collected from various tools, okay, and various technologies are available for collecting those data. Okay, so this we know already, but why we need data mining? As I said already, so this data is of no use unless it is converted into useful information. So this data mining takes place here. Okay, so we are drowning in data, but we are starving for a knowledge. Okay, so we have to use data mining techniques to find the patterns or trends in our data. So what is data mining? So data mining is nothing but it is a process of finding the useful patterns or recovering the patterns from large amount of data. So that is data mining. So we can see the real-time example for data mining. So you used to purchase from e-commerce website like Amazon, Flipkart and so many e-commerce websites are available. So from that website we are going to purchase some items. Okay, so what they will do, they used to give recommendations of the particular product. So based on the user interest, they will give a recommendation of the particular product and they will give offer based on the recommendations also. Okay, so that is one kind of mining. Okay, so what they will do in that, what they will get, so they can increase their performance. Okay, also they can enhance the customer experience. Okay, so in order to increase their maximum profit of the particular company, they are giving some suggestions or recommendations for the particular user. Okay, so based on the interest only they will give the recommendations. Okay, so this is one kind of example for data mining. So not only this application, there are many applications available in the real world. And next is evaluation of data mining technology. Okay, so in 1960s and 70s and all, we used to have DBMS, okay, database management system. Okay, and in 80s and 90s we used to have RDBMS, relational database management systems. Okay, so 90s only the data mining can take place. So data mining techniques as well as data warehousing technologies and multiple data available in the 90s itself. Okay. So next comes to the definition of data mining. Okay, what is data mining? Data we know it is a raw facts and mining is nothing but extracting. Okay, so data mining in the sense extracting useful information or we can say interesting patterns. Okay, the pattern can be anything. Okay, so the large amount of data. So data mining, it is a process of extracting useful information from large amount of data. So that is the definition of data mining. Okay, so it involves various techniques. Okay, so for predicting the patterns, we are using so many techniques. For example, mathematical, statistical data, and we are using machine learning technologies and DBMS for storing the particular data. So in order to identify the patterns in your data, we are using these many techniques. Okay, so what is data mining? So it is a process of discovering or we can extracting useful information from large amount of data. Next, so there are so many alternative names for data mining. Okay, so first one is knowledge discovery in databases. Okay, so it was coined in 1989. Okay, and later knowledge mining from the data and knowledge extraction, data or pattern analysis, data archaeology, and data dredging. Okay, so these are all the alternative names for data mining. Okay. Next, what are all the steps involved in knowledge discovery in databases? Okay, so the first step is a data cleaning. Okay, and second one, data integration. Third one, data selection. And fourth one, data transformation. And fifth one, data mining. And finally, knowledge evaluation and presentation. Okay. Let's see one by one from this diagram. So this is the process of KDD, that is knowledge discovery in databases. This is the main process in data mining techniques. Okay, so we will start with the first phase. So first phase is the data cleaning. Okay, so before data cleaning, we have to collect the data from various sources. Okay, so here we have to collect the data from various sources like multimedia databases, relational databases, and databases from other sources like social media and scientific data. So all the data should be collected together for the data KDD process. Okay, so the first step is data cleaning. Okay, so cleaning in the sense here we are removing the unwanted data, irrelevant data. Okay, also we are handling the missing values in the data and we are removing the noisy data. Okay, so these are all comes under data cleaning. Okay, so missing values in the sense, suppose we have a database in the Excel format. Okay, some values are missing in the Excel format. What we have to do means we can replace the empty values, empty cell values with the value, some other value like 0 or not applicable or any other value. So that can be replaced with any other value. That is, see here. So missing values. So this missing values can be handled with replacing the mean value or any other replacement. Okay, and next one is noisy data. Noisy means incorrect data or irrelevant data. For example, in one place instead of person age they have mentioned patient income. So that is incorrect data. Okay, so such data can be handled by data cleaning. Okay, and removing the duplicate values. So the same data will be replicated in two or more places. So that can be removed by using data cleaning technique. So what is data cleaning? So cleaning the missing values, removing the noisy values, inconsistent values, and removing the duplicate values. So from the collected data, we are performing the data cleaning. Okay, our next step is data selection. Okay, so we have done with the data cleaning. Okay, next we have to do with the data selection. Okay, data selection in the sense we have to do, see, data selection in the sense already we have done data cleaning. I mean this is the pre-processing phase. Okay, after collecting the data we have performed data cleaning. Okay, next we have to select the relevant data. Okay, so data selection in the sense we are selecting only the relevant data from the sources. Okay, so in the previous phase we have done data cleaning. From the data we are taking only the relevant data for analysis purpose. Okay, so we are selecting only relevant data, task relevant data, that is data selection. Okay, so data selection also done. Okay, after selecting the data we have to perform the data transformation or reduction technique. Okay, data transformation in the sense we are converting the data format into suitable format which is used for analysis purpose. Okay, for example, I am having the numeric data. Okay, so that can be normalized in 0 to 1. Okay, so for that I have to convert my original data into 0 to 1 format. Okay. From the selected data, we have to perform the data transformation. So data transformation and selection. Okay, reduction. Data transformation involves converting the data into a format that is suitable for analysis. Okay, because from the data only we are going to analyze the patterns or trends in our data. For that we have to do data transformation as well as reduction. Reduction in the sense we are removing the unwanted attributes in our data. We can take only the relevant attributes. Okay, and data transformation we have a normalization technique. In that technique we have to scale the data. Okay, I said no, 0 to 1 format or some other format. So scaling the data to the common range for consistency across the variables. That is the normalization techniques. And next one is discretization. So discretization in the sense we are converting the continuous data into discrete one. Okay, so discrete one, that is discretization, and data aggregation in the sense we are combining the data. Okay, so data aggregation means summarizing the multiple data points. For example, we are taking the average of the whole percentage of the class, average, or we are taking the maximum or minimum marks. That can be comes under data aggregation techniques. And finally, concept hierarchy generation means we are organizing the data into hierarchies. For example, if you want to write our address of our particular house or residential address, will start with the door number followed by street name and followed by district and followed by state code. So that is the hierarchy of address. Similarly, here also in our data we are finding the hierarchy between the data items. So these are all the techniques which are available for data transformation and reduction. And next phase is data mining phase. Okay, we know that data mining is a extraction of useful information from large amount of data set. Okay, so from the selected data, after performing the transformation and reduction, we are going to apply any one of the data mining technologies in order to find out the trends or patterns in our data. Okay, so that is data mining. And finally, from the data mining techniques, we can find out able to see the patterns or trends in our data. And final stage is a pattern evaluation as well as knowledge representation. Okay, so after performing the data mining technique, we can identify the patterns in our data or discover any pattern in our data. Okay, finally the knowledge can be represented in terms of either graph or chart, or it can be anything. Okay, so we can visualize the data by using pattern evaluation techniques. Okay, so this is a major process of KDD. Okay, so the first phase is data cleaning. So data cleaning, here we are doing the finding the missing values in the data and how to handle the missing values and removing the duplicate values in the data as well as noisy data. So after cleaning, we have to select only the task relevant data. Okay, so that data will be suitable for data transformation. Okay, so in the data transformation, what we have to do, we have to convert the data into suitable format which is applied for analysis. Okay, and next phase is data mining techniques. Here we are going to process the entire data and we can find out the trends in our data. And finally, the patterns can be identified that can be visualized using any chart or bar graphs, or it can be any visualization technique. Okay, so this is a major process of KDD. So data cleaning, data selection, and data transformation and reduction. Next, data mining process and evaluation and interpretation of results. I have told no. So visualization and summarization techniques are used for representation techniques. And next one is data mining applications. Okay, so what are all the real-time applications? There are so many number of applications for data mining. First one is market basket analysis. In the sense, for example, take a supermarket. If you want to analyze the performance of the particular customer, what you have to do? Like how many number of items he is purchasing and how frequently he is purchasing, how many number of items frequently purchasing. So this kind of pattern can be identified from the data. Okay, so for after identifying this, what we have to do? What is the use of this? So this can be done by the particular company or organization or any supermarket. So in order to increase the profit or maximum, to enhance their customer experience. So that can be used for, mainly used for decision making process. Okay, so all these data mining applications can be used for mainly decision making process. Okay, so first one is market basket analysis and next one is forecasting also. So weather forecasting, for example, if you want to analyze the particular day of, weather prediction of particular day, what you have to do means simply we cannot do, right? Okay, so we have to take the past 10 years of data or historical data. From that historical data, we are going to analyze the patterns, okay, similar patterns. What are all the patterns we have identified in the previous years, that can be summarized, okay. So based on the past data only, historical data only, we can able to predict the weather of today. Okay, so that is weather forecasting. And healthcare. What about healthcare? Healthcare in the sense, if you want to identify the symptoms of the particular disease, what you have to do? We have to analyze what are all the symptoms are there and which feature is the most frequent pattern. Okay, so that can be analyzed by using data mining technique. And next one is credit card fraud detection, that you know, and text mining. Okay, so if you upload your particular document, from that document you are going to identify what are all the frequent words that can be occurred in a particular document. That can be identified with the help of text mining techniques. Okay, so not only these many applications, there are many applications that are available in the real world for data mining. Okay, next. So this is the typical architecture of data mining system. Okay, so like KDD also, here also we are going to collect the data sources from various sources. First one is databases from multiple sources and data cleaning and data integration and data filtering. Okay, so data cleaning we know. So here we are removing the duplicate values and handling the missing data and removing the irrelevant data. Okay, and handling the missing value, that can be takes place in the data cleaning techniques. And data integration. Integration means what? We are combining the data from various sources. So the integration takes place here. And next one is filtering. Okay, so from the data warehouse, so warehouse contains all the, it is a main repository of databases. Okay, so from the database repository, we are filtering the data which is relevant for our engine. Okay, so this is the base thing. Okay, so from the data, it will go to the database or data warehouse server. Okay, so he will maintain the number of data which is relevant. Okay, after pre-processing, we have to store it in a warehouse server. Then it will go to data mining engine. So data mining engine, here we are going to apply any one of the data mining technology, and based on the help of that knowledge base. Okay, so in that knowledge base, we have a data with the multiple sources. Okay, so knowledge base contains knowledge from various domains. Okay, so based on the domain what we are applying here, that can be referred with the knowledge base and it will come to data mining engine. Then finally the patterns can be evaluated with the help of knowledge base. Okay, and finally GUI, graphical user interface. See, these patterns can be visualized with the help of GUI from the user side, end user side. Okay, so that is the main process of data mining architecture. Okay, so databases, data cleaning and data integration, data warehouse, from that we are doing filtering. After that we have to perform the data warehouse server. This data can be sent to data warehouse server and it will go to the data mining engine. Here we are applying any one of the data mining technology based on the knowledge base expert, and patterns can be identified with the help of pattern evaluation techniques, and finally the end user will see the graphical representation of GUI. Okay, so let's recall from the first one. So what we have discussed today? So data and information. So difference between data and information. So data is a raw facts, figures, or it can be anything, and information is a processed data. Okay, and why we need data mining? Data in the real world are a huge amount of data. We have a day-to-day life in our data, or so many things are available from previous sources, this data is of no use unless it is converted into useful information. But we need a data mining for processing these techniques in order to get the decision making process. The main purpose of data mining is in order to identify the patterns in the data that can be useful for decision making process. Okay, so what is data mining? So it is a process of extracting useful information from large amount of data. Okay, there are so many alternative names are there. Knowledge database and knowledge discovery in databases, or knowledge mining, data archaeology, data representation. These can be alternative names for data mining. And what are all the processes involved in KDD? So KDD process, the first thing is data cleaning. So here we are doing missing values, okay, and we have to do removing the noisy data as well as we are removing the irrelevant data, okay, inconsistency data and incorrect data should be removed before pre-processing, okay. So that is data cleaning. After that, second one is data selection. So data selection, what we have to do, we have to select the task relevant data from the data cleaning, or the relevant data should be selected based on the analysis of the data, okay. And next phase is data transformation and reduction, okay. So data transformation, what we have to do, we have to convert the data into suitable format which is useful for analysis, okay. So that is data transformation. Reduction in the sense we are removing or we are reducing the size of the features, okay. I mean features in the sense attributes, okay. We are reducing the size of the feature, or we can use any normalization technique to reduce the scaling, okay. And final phase is pattern evaluation. In that pattern evaluation, we are going to apply data mining technique, and from that technique we can identify the patterns or trends in our data, and finally this can be visualized with the help of evaluation techniques, okay. And applications of data mining. So there are so many real world applications are available: market basket analysis, credit card fraud detection, healthcare, and so many things are available for data mining. Pass on. Next is data mining techniques, okay. So there are major techniques available for data mining. The first one is association techniques, second one is classification, next one clustering, and next prediction and regression, and finally we have a outlier detection, okay. So one of the major techniques are association, classification, clustering, okay. So first one is association. Association is nothing but finding the relationship between the variables, okay. So whatever variable we are taking, we are going to identify the association variables. For example, take out the example for market basket analysis. Here what we are doing, what the customer is buying, what frequent item he is buying. For example, he is buying the bread means also it is a chance that he will buy the bread also, okay, bread and butter, okay. What are all the combination of items he should buy, okay. So that comes under association rules. There are so many association rules are available that can be evaluated with the help of confidence, okay. And next one is classification techniques. So classification techniques, here we are taking only labeled set of data, okay. So labeled set of data in the sense we have a data set, at the end we have we know the output of the variable, okay. So we know what is the output, okay. So we know the previous data, labeled data that can be taken for training data set. In classification there are two data sets are available. One is called as training data set, another one is called as test data set. In the training data set we have a data with a label, okay. That means labeled data can be taken as a trained data set, okay. So after applying any one of the classification techniques, we are going to apply those techniques into test data set, okay. In the test data set we don't know the class label, okay. So this comes under unsupervised, supervised learning, okay. Classification is one of the supervised learning. That means we know the labeled data, class label, we know what is the outcome of the particular data, okay. So we are training the data set. From the trained data set we are going to predict the class label of the unknown data set, that is classification. And next one is clustering. Clustering in the sense grouping of similar data types, okay. So within the cluster, grouping of similar data in the sense we are based on the interest we are forming the groups, okay. So similarity measures, so many measures are available. One is Manhattan distance and another one is Euclidean distance, and so many distances are available, okay. So based on the similarity we are finding out the clusters within the data. Okay, I mean within the cluster they have high similarity, and outside this clusters we have very less similarity. So that is the clustering techniques, and there are many number of clustering techniques available. K-means algorithm, KNN algorithm, and so many algorithms are available for predicting the clusters. And next one is prediction. This prediction can be used for analyzing the numeric variables. Okay, so numeric data can be predicted with the help of regression techniques. Okay, so regression techniques used for identifying the relationship between numeric, I mean dependent variable and independent variable. Okay, so we are taking only numeric data in the regression techniques. And finally, outlier detection. Okay, so outlier in the sense that is totally abnormal detection. Okay, so abnormal in the particular data. Okay, so that is totally irrelevant to the particular data. So that can also identified with the help of outlier detection technologies. Okay, so once again I will recall the techniques. So first one is association. It is a finding the relationship between the variables. Okay, and next one is classification. This can be used for labeled data set. Okay, from the labeled data set we are training the labeled data set, and from the data set we are going to apply any one of the technique, and we have to predict the output of the, I mean class label of the test data set. And next one is clustering. It is grouping of similar data items. Okay, so grouping of similar data items, there are many similarity measures are available. Okay, Euclidean distance or Manhattan distance. Okay, so we are going to predict the cluster based on the similarity measure. Within the cluster they should have a high similarity, and outside the cluster they should have very less similarity. And prediction can be used for predicting the variables. Okay, and regression technique used for finding the relationship between dependent and independent variables. Okay, and there are many regression techniques available. Linear regression, least square methods, so many methods are available for predicting the regression. And finally, outlier detection. So outlier in the sense abnormal one. Okay, so totally irrelevant in the particular data set. That can also predicted in some cases. So this can be used in the case of credit card fraud detection. Even a small amount of data can be useful for finding the particular trend in the data. In that case, that outlier detection can be useful one. Okay. Data mining techniques one by one. First one is clustering analysis. Okay, so clustering is a process of making group of objects. As I said already, it's a grouping of objects. Okay, into a class of similar objects. Okay, so grouping the similar kind of items, that can be done by using clustering. Okay, a cluster of data objects can be treated as one group. Okay, what is the principle here? So maximizing the intra-class similarity. Intra-class in the sense within the cluster they should have high similarity. That is maximizing intra-class similarity, and minimizing inter-class similarity means outside the cluster they should have very less similarity. Okay, there are many methods are available for clustering. First one is K-means clustering, another one is DB scan. So this is the representation of clustering. Okay, so we are having a group of clusters in this diagram. Okay, so that can be differentiated with the colors. And next one is outlier analysis. What is outlier? A data object that doesn't comply with the general behavior of the data. Totally it is an abnormal one. Okay, so outlier analysis, it is a process that involves identifying the anomalous observation within the data set. Okay, so totally abnormal from the data set. Okay, so it can be represented as noise or exception case. Okay, so example is useful in fraud detection. Okay, and rare events analysis like CBA and all, we can use it for outlier. Okay, and major issues in our data mining techniques. So mining methodology and user interaction. Okay, so user interaction, GUI interaction. Next one is performance, and what are the different types of data available in the data mining. Okay. Next, mining methodology and user interaction issues. Okay, so we are having the different kind of data. For example, relational DBMS. Okay, multiple data available for different kind of techniques. So different users will have a different knowledge and different way of representing the particular database. So that is one of the main issue in data mining. And second one is interactive mining of knowledge at multiple levels of abstraction. Okay, focus the search patterns. There are multiple levels of abstraction will be there. We are focusing only on the relevant kind of data. So that is focusing the search patterns. Second one is a different angle. I mean each one have different perspective. Okay, so different angles will be there for processing our data. Okay, and third one is data mining query languages. Query languages in the sense DML, DDL. Okay, so what are the query languages we are using? And adapt data mining. Okay, so here we have a high level data language, query language, and what are the constraints we are giving for the particular query. So that is the main issue. And next one is incorporation of background knowledge. Background and domain knowledge should be there. That will be useful for mining the data. So these are all the main issues we have come across data mining techniques. Thank you.